Hi, and welcome to this session on goal setting. You may well have heard of the cliche that says, if you aim for nothing, you'll definitely get there. Well, when it comes to handling finances, we as stewards of God's resources need to have very clear objectives about what it is that we want to achieve. In fact, we actually need to involve Him in this process of setting goals. And ultimately, setting goals is about laying the foundations for good money management. Because if we don't have particularly clear goals in mind, literally we won't really know where we're going as far as money management is concerned. And we'll just float around and be bounced around with the various noises that we hear out in the marketplace. So the question is, how do you set goals? Well, I like to use the acronym that many business people use, and that is that goals need to be SMART. That means they need to be specific, they need to be measurable, they need to be achievable, they need to be relevant, and they need to be time-bound. Well, what do I mean? Well, let's make up an objective here. Let's say my goal is to pay off a $300,000 mortgage in 10 years' time. So it's very specific, it's my mortgage that I want to pay off. It's relevant, of course, because I want to get out of debt as soon as possible. It's measurable because we know the amount, it's $300,000. Is it achievable? Well, that will depend on a range of factors such as my income and so forth, and only you'll know the answer to that. And then of course it's time bound, that is, I want to do it within 10 years' time. And when it comes to goals, we should also break it up on the basis of time frame. That is, they need to be short term. And short term, when it comes to financial goals for personal finance, I'd suggest to you that short term goals are between now and 3 years' time. Then we have medium term goals, which are say 3 to 10 years' time. So that might be, for example, saving for my children's education. And then there are long term goals. These are goals that are really 10 years or more. So that could be, for example, for something like saving for retirement. We could also break up our goals into various categories. They could be specific financial goals, spiritual goals, goals about our family and the lifestyle that we wish to have. Really, it's anything you want. It doesn't just have to be financial, but I do think your goals need to be put down in writing and referred to very regularly. But I also want to suggest to you that you need to have eternal goals. And this is something that a lot of people really don't think about, and that is, what will be the legacy of your life? What is it that you want to leave behind? And once again, this is not necessarily financial, but more about what will your life have done as far as having an impact on the kingdom of God? What will you have done for Christ? You know, what do you believe is your calling in life? And what goals are you going to do in order to fulfill that calling, your assignment, as I like to often refer to it as? So let's look at some typical goals, but then also we'll look at some eternal goals. So some typical goals are, I want to save for my kids' education, or I want to save for a deposit for my first home. Another one could be, of course, I want to pay off my mortgage. I want to save for retirement. I may want to give a particular percentage of my income. There are all sorts of different ways and different goals you may have. Don't focus so much on at this point whether they're right or wrong. Just make a list of all those potential goals that you might have. And then you might have what I call your eternal goals. So for example, you might say, I want to give a certain amount of money each year, or I want to increase my giving by an extra 1% every year. So, this year it might be 10%, next year it's 11%, the year after 12%. Once again, there's no right or wrong. It's what you believe God is asking you to do. Then of course, perhaps you have other goals, such as wanting to set up a business that will have a kingdom impact, or a charity or a mission organisation, or even something more like using the talents and gifts that God has given you. So what are the eternal goals that you're going to have for your life? And lastly, I want to ask you this, and that is, what is the vision and the mission of the money that God has given you? Now, in business terms, we use the word mission, which is why a business exists. So what are you doing with your money, in other words, on a day-by-day basis? What's the purpose of it? And the second part is your vision. What is it that you want to achieve with this money? What would it look like in the future if you manage the money according to that particular mission that you have? So what do I want you to do? Well, I want you to write down your goals, both your financial goals and also your eternal goals. And then I want you to set a mission and a vision for your money. Thanks for watching.